started this hike on May 17th, about 10:30 in the morning at Harper's Ferry. This is the bridge over the river going northbound. This is the one where the train hopped the track later in the year and crashed across the footbridge in the middle of the night. This section of paved trail was really boring, and they were putting down some sort of asphalt, and they had one of those little rolling, I don't know what it is, the big weighted roller that mashes down the building materials. So the dodging equipment there for about a half hour, 45 minutes. Ended up at Old Rocky Run Shelter, did 15.4 miles. Kind of a bummer day. I had trouble with the pole all day. The water filter didn't work. I broke a water bottle cap trying to flush the filter. Found out I left my electronics at the trailer and I fell in the mud. This is my new haircut. The next day I did 20.8 miles. I got up at 6 and started out early. I had to do 15.6 to meet my wife to get a water filter and a phone charger. Had a couple little hills that were killers, especially second day back on the trail. Did manage to get my shoes wet at the last mile. There seemed to be a recurring problem on this hike. This is the original Washington Monument. It's in Maryland, and I was unfortunate enough to get there after they started renovation project, so I didn't get to see it in all its glory nor climb up to the top of it. Sunday the 19th, I made it to Rocky Mountain Shelter, 19.6 miles. On the way over there, I stopped at the Maryland State Park, and a groundskeeper let me use his sink to find a leak in my air mattress. And right before I got to the shelter, I got hailed on some pea-sized stuff in the last 25 yards before the shelter. It was one of these twin pin shelters. There was two of them side by side. I had one of them to myself, and the wind blew in once a little bit. I was sleeping too close to the edge. Next day I did 24 miles over to a state park, Pine Grove Furnace. Met a guy named Sparky, a thru hiker from Switzerland. We camped outside the park. It was the spot where you're supposed to be able to do the ice cream challenge, but I think we were too early in the season, before Memorial Day, and we were also too late in the day. I think it was a little bit after 6. The 21st, I did 18 miles over to Boiling Springs, where Patty picked me up. I was pretty proud of myself. 5 days and a total of 98 miles. Not bad for an old fart. It was easy hiking in the morning and rough in the afternoon with 5 ups and some, I've got a note here, large boulders to climb and one face plant. And I remember this remarkably muddy field outside of town. Made it all day with dry feet until I got to that farmer's field. Took a 0 the next day because we had to move the RV into Pennsylvania. And went to Jonestown. On the 23rd, she dropped me back at Boiling Springs around 10 o'clock. Did 21.7, the first 13 of which was really flat around farms. And then there was 2 hard climbs, with the last one having 2 miles of rocks before the shelter. Ran into Sparky again at Cove Mountain Shelter. Pitched a tent on a road above the shelter. There were snakes, birds, and bumblebees in the shelter. And it rained around midnight. 24th, did 21.4 miles, started 6:45. It's 3 miles down to Duncannon, and then a couple miles through town, across the bridge for the Susquehanna River. There was one big climb out of town, and then the miles and miles of ridge walking. Not a lot of fun. About wore my toes out stubbing them, and did some stealth camping next to a spring by myself. Well, you don't see this very often on the trail. Did 18 miles the next day. This is the stretch of trail between 1166 and 1184 where there's that beaver dam, and I took the alternate trail around it. It was 4/10 of a mile longer, but apparently you have to deal with shin or knee-high mud if you take the trail over the dam. And my wife was going to pick me up at the end of this day, and we just about got divorced over this because there were two highways, a 72 and a 443, that ran parallel to one another, and there was some failure to communicate as to which one I was on and which one she was on and where I was. Anyway, it took quite a while for us to figure it out. I slack packed the next day for 11 miles between Pin 501 and 72. Got caught by a thunderstorm and crossing a deep creek. I was pretty wet by the time my wife picked me up. I met a lady that was also from Arlington, Texas on the trail. That was kind of interesting. She had started her hike at Bland, Virginia. We're going to do a flip-flop. Well, this is my last day on this hike. My wife dropped me off at mile 1214.4, and I hiked almost 19 miles south. It was an interesting day. I spent the first few hours walking through the woods yelling out the missing hiker's name, Beth. She and her dog were lost. Turned out she spent the night on the trail and was found the next day by a turkey hunter. The first 8 miles of this hike was pretty good, but after that it was just muddy and rocky. That pretty much became my memories of Pennsylvania. If the trail wasn't covered with water and mud, it was covered by rocks. I ran into that lady from Arlington again, and she had a black eye. She had fallen, did a face plant since the last time I saw her, and almost poked her eye out. She had hit her eye socket. I fell myself that day and rim racked my knee and my wrist. Anyway, it's probably a good time to get off the trail.